time for everyone's favorite video, a self-roast where I indulge in narcissism and vibe check myself mercilessly. Hello friends, my name is Katie and welcome back to my channel. Today I once again stoop to being the plagiarism rat that I am because I'm stealing a video concept from my very good friend Wallis, or Wallissimo here on YouTube. She made this incredibly funny video back in January where she created an alignment chart for the books that she had read in 2021. I did ask her if I could use this video for myself and she agreed, but please go watch her video if you haven't already and go subscribe while you're over there. She doesn't post much, but when she does, it's iconic. Chef's kiss, forever in our hearts. John Keats. And if you don't get that reference, go watch that video. So today I'm going to be stealing that idea, except instead of the books that I read in 2021 or the books I've read currently, I'm going to be doing the genres that I want to write because there's a lot of random genres, and truly, what would I be if not a narcissist and wanting to talk about my projects again in a hopefully silly, fun way. Anyways, if you didn't watch Wallis's video, which...
What are you doing? You haven't.
And you don't play D&D and you're like, oh, Katie, what the is an alignment chart? It is a tool that was created to help guide players into deciding what their characters would do based on where they fall in this alignment chart. With the lawful to chaotic axis, a lawful character will follow ethically the rules and traditions set by the society that they inhabit, whereas a chaotic character will more likely follow the beat of their own drum. A neutral character, from my understanding, will follow their own agenda, being a little bit of both, where if they're a lawful neutral, then they will more likely follow the laws, where if they're a chaotic neutral, they'll more follow the beat of their own drum again, and they'll have a little bit more freedom to move around as they will. Then, the good to evil axis. I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. Do I need to explain that one? I would hope not. However, for my genre alignment chart, the lawful to chaotic axis is going to be how difficult the genre is to write. Lawful being that the genre is generally easy to follow, and chaotic being that I question why the hell I'm even a writer. The good to evil axis is going to be how common the genre is versus how niche it is. Good being super marketable, and evil being that it's going to be a bitch to query because comp titles who? Alright, let's just jump into the alignment then, shall we? Let's start with lawful good, the alignment that I think is going to be quite comparable and quite easy to write as well. For me, lawful good is going to be the sports romance category or my soulmate AU tennis book, because if you don't know this about me, and you probably don't because this is a very niche interest that very few people know about, from the age of like 4 to 18, I played tennis, and tennis is very much like my interest, and I know a ridiculous amount about it. I know to some people, sports romance might be a little bit more difficult because you don't know anything about sports, and that's totally understandable. But for me, the actual hard part is going to be the romance writing of it, because I watch way too much tennis, and I have watched way too much tennis in my lifetime. So that's going to end up being lawful good for me. What a fun time. In neutral good, where I feel like it's neither going to be too difficult or too easy to write, I'm going to put action adventure fantasy, which is my The Mummy meets Cannonball Run story. I also have a couple other action adventure fantasies brewing in the back of my brain as well, because I love action adventure fantasy. The Mummy is literally one of my favorite movies, so. And does this prequel also have a resurrected character, a race to find an artifact, and disturbing of ancient ruins of an ancient culture, and therefore causing destruction, maybe the apocalypse? Yeah. So, I mean, am I just writing the Mummy in the Wrath King world? Essentially. I don't think this concept will be particularly hard to write because I'm really familiar with fantasy, but I do think the revision of it could be a bitch, so it's not going in lawful, it's going in neutral. I feel like it's smack dab in the middle. And the reason why I say it's in the good category is because I feel like, you know, everyone loves the Mummy, you know? And I feel like there's a lot of books that I've read that could possibly comp towards it, depending on the way the book falls when I actually get around to writing it. Is it a problem that all of those books are young adults and this prequel is 1000% adult? Yeah, that might be a problem, but here we are nonetheless. And finally, going in chaotic good is the vampire murder mystery fantasy romance, because I feel like on a whole I could actually comp this pretty well. I feel like I have a good tagline, I feel like I have a good hook with it, I feel like it kind of fits a lot of the current market, or a portion of the market, you know, the people who love the Carrie Maniscalco Stalking Jack the Ripper series, anyone who loved The Alienist, and anyone who loves vampires. Which, are vampires having a resurgence? I don't know. I feel like vampires have been having a resurgence for like a decade. Everyone was saying that Renee Addier's Quartet vampire series was going to be reinventing vampires and giving them back to us, but I mean, I haven't read that series nor heard a lot of hype for it, but maybe I'm just not on the right side of the internet for that. Regardless, I feel like this book could have better comp title choices than any other thing on this list, you know. So if you're thinking to yourself, Katie, that doesn't sound like there'd be very many comp title subtitles for that. Just wait until you see the rest of the genres that I'm planning on writing. So literally the only one that's going to be easy is the sports romance. And I already have the comp titles picked out for that. So fantasy is just really hard, you know? So be gay, solve crime, drink blood falls in chaotic good, because that book is going to be a bitch to edit. Let me tell you, because I'm cutting a POV that I wrote 2 years ago and having to add a new point of view, as well as restructure the entire book to have more in the murder mystery category and less in the fantasy category. So cheers to that. 2 shots of vodka.
2 shots of vodka?
Just kidding. Water. It is 10 o'clock in the morning. All right, now we are on to the neutral category. First up is going to be lawful neutral, which I'm putting my fantasy romance idea into. The general fantasy romance, which I have a lot of ideas for this because I love fantasy and I apparently love writing romance too. However, this goes in neutral because are there comp titles for this? Maybe not. I say it's fantasy Bridgerton, but it doesn't have the main thing that makes Bridgerton Bridgerton, which is the whole Lady Whistledown thing. The whole Gossip Girl angle isn't being redone in any way that is new. Actually, it's not being done at all in my version of the book. So can I even call it Bridgerton? Probably not. Bridgerton is more of just a vibe to give you an idea of what it is. I'm basically trying to find an excuse to write historical romance without having to do any of the historical aspects of it, because I'm a Anyway, I put this as lawful neutral because I do not know if there's going to be any comps, no comps. I feel like it's kind of in no man's land there. I guess we'll kind of figure it out. Whereas with the lawful, I really do think this series is going to be easy to write once I actually get a plot down, because romance plots I find are quite easy to write because a lot of it is emotion, and that's my favorite thing to write. So it's just vibes. I mean, romance really is kind of just vibes. At least it is to me. So it's the vibes. It's the vibes. I've said vibes way too many times. Take a shot every time I say vibes and you will have to go to the hospital. So please actually don't do that. Drink responsibly. And then falling in true neutral, where it is neither difficult to write nor is it easy to write. And it also has no comp titles to stand for, but it is a popular fantasy genre. So it is grimdark fantasy. Now, I always do kind of hesitate to call The Wrath King, which is what the grimdark fantasy idea is, grimdark fantasy, but when I look at it, it truly is grimdark fantasy, and I really shouldn't be trying to shy away from that. It's fine. Will I ever touch The Wrath King again? Probably, but I just have to come to terms with the fact that it is in fact very dark and very bloody, very gory, and you know, that's fine. And if I do end up going back and revising it, it'll just get even gorier and even weirder and even more twisted, and I will have an even harder time finding a comp title. So by the time I hit revisions on this again, it might be chaotic evil. Who knows? But for right now, it sits truly in the true neutral spot to me. Again, these are vibes. These are just vibes. And also, these may not apply to you. You may have your entirely different idea of what genres are easy or difficult to write. This is just for me personally and my experience having written some of these. Next is chaotic neutral. This genre is not one that I think I've ever spoken about on my channel. I may have spoken about it once, about 100 million years ago, in a very old vlog where I mentioned it once. I've also think I've mentioned it on a live stream, but again, if you don't remember, neither did I until I was looking at my mood board. Originally this video was supposed to be doing a Pinterest tour, but I decided to do this instead. Pinterest tour still may come eventually. So falling into chaotic neutral is elemental superheroes, aka the only YA I will ever write. Anything to do with Marvel, Gotham, Justice League, superhero elements. I of course have the fantasy twist of elemental magic, but dystopian government trying to take over the world. You know, very typical stuff. I put this in chaotic neutral because I think this book will be difficult for me to write for multiple reasons, mostly because I generally stick to adult because teenagers scare the shit out of me. So YA authors are really out here doing the Lord's work. But this book doesn't work if it's not teenagers. So will this book ever be written? Who knows? Basically, chaotic neutral is any YA book I'll ever try to write. The only YA idea I have is this elemental superheroes story, which is why it goes here specifically. So there you go. And it's neutral because, again, it will depend on the market when I write this book eventually, but I feel like there could be some good comp titles like Brando Sando's Reckoner series or Marissa Meyer's Renegade series. I feel like could be good comp titles for those, even though those are a little big and a little bit old, but that's why it's in neutral and not in evil. Let's just get into the evil ones, the ones that I've been hyping up this entire time, and honestly probably even aren't that funny, but here we are. First off, going into lawful evil, which is very easy to write, but impossible to sell on the market. And that would be Nora Roberts' ripoff, aka
plagiarism.
I thought I was so funny with this category. I still kind of think it's funny. Basically, if you don't know, I am rewriting a Nora Roberts book with my own characters, but I've stolen the entirety of her plot. And not even the plot from her book, Angel's Fall, but from the Lifetime movie that came out in the late 2000s. So, Gay Murder Town, going in lawful evil, because it's super easy to write, because I already have the plot, because I literally stole it. Evil, because there's no way I'm ever gonna sell it. And I don't wanna sell it. It'll never sell, and that's fine by me, you know? Like, because it's plagiarism. I'm literally, it's a writing experiment. It's a writing experiment. That's what I tell myself to make sure I can sleep at night. Next, let's go into Neutral Evil, the book that's going to be semi-difficult to write, but not impossible to write. And it's only hard for me to write because of certain themes that I'll be exploring within it that I think I just need to, you know, reflect inward a little bit before I can start writing it. But it does go in the evil category because it has a single book of this genre sold in the last 30 years. It is the Western Gothic. I want to write a Western. I've had this book idea in my head for literally years. I have a query letter written for it. Not a good one, but I do have one written. This is, you know, the iconic The Shadows Have Teeth. I talk about it randomly and then stop working on it because I become afraid of it. I'm very fearful of it. It is a fantasy gothic Western. You also didn't know this about me. Apparently this is just Katie lore drop video. I used to be a history major in college. I dropped that because, you know, I didn't think there was any prospects and jobs in history, and, you know, went on to then get a literature and creative writing degree. But we'll ignore that. So I'm very interested in history, and specifically I am very interested in the Old West and the Gold Rush and old Western towns, ghost towns. Tombstone is one of my favorite movies, so it only makes sense that I'd want to write a Western Gothic, because I also love Gothic, and I think it'd be interesting. It's a genre blend. But again, will this ever sell in the market? Probably not. And finally, going in Chaotic Evil, where the book will be a pain in my ass to write, and will also probably never sell unless I'm an international bestseller and reach SJM or Lee Bardugo status, which I'm not holding my breath for, by the way. Not thinking that's gonna happen, don't worry. And that is my fantasy and sci-fi clusterfuck ideas, where I blend fantasy and sci-fi in a absolutely horrifying mess, where I'll never be able to find a comp title. Never. There's never in a million years. If someone has watched the All About My Novel for the Eclipse Project and you have any idea what could be a comp title for it, please do let me know. Or, you know, the Dragon book where it's Pacific Rim meets Aragon meets The Dig. I'm sorry, those comp titles are not going to work in a query letter. They're just not. Like, agents are going to laugh at you. Because who the fuck would take a chance on that if you're not an established author? I don't blame them. I probably wouldn't either. Will I still write these sci-fi fantasy clusterfuck books? Yeah, because that's what I love to read. That's my Chaotic Evil. And, you know, I stand by it. I stand by those Chaotic Evil ideas because even though they're gonna be a pain to write, I love them anyway. And that is my alignment chart of the genres that I wish to write. Do I feel like a lot of these could have ended up in the evil category anyway? Yes, because I am a very niche writer, I've discovered. They always say, write what you want to read, and I did that, and it turns out no one else wants to read it. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give me a thumbs up down below. And if you want to see more of my rambling face, you can subscribe. And remember to go follow Wallis because she creates some amazing content. And am I saying that because she happens to be one of my best friends? Maybe. But is it also because she creates incredible content? Yes. So... And if you want more of me, Wallis, and then also the two wonderful people, Devasia and Stieg, we stream every single Friday on the Troublemakers channel, and we talk a lot about shit, and you might get tidbits about us that you would not have gotten otherwise. So if you want to make this video yourself, please go ahead. I would love to see where you alignment chart all of the genres you're thinking about writing. So if you do, please make sure to tag me, DM me, let me know somehow if you do end up making this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!